What's a fact you know that almost everyone is wrong about? I'll start with an example. Toilets don't flush clockwise versus counterclockwise as a result of being on one side of the equator or another. This fact is so ingrained into our public consciousness that even shows like The Simpsons get it spectacularly wrong, and we've almost all had teachers cite this in class while explaining the Coriolis effect. The thing is, it's balderdash. To get a sink or toilet to drain in different directions is much more a matter of drain shape, the motion of the water when the container was filled, and so on. You literally need to leave a big reservoir of water sitting for days to be able to get it to behave in a manner that's observably changed by Coriolis forces, and that's after protecting it from wind, sun, vibration, etc. and using a special drain and tub. Darth Vader is almost always quoted saying, "Luke, I'm your father," when really it's "No, I'm your father." Stupid fools. American troops in World War II saw an average of about 10 days of combat a year. Troops in Vietnam saw about an average of 240. I was quite taken back when I heard that. That's cause they all died. I don't know if anyone really believes this, but since it was like the crux of that Bradley Cooper movie, we don't only use 10% of our brain. You know how they say we only use 10% of our brains? I think we only use 10% of our hearts. Those who think they only use 10% of their brain probably do. Congress didn't classify pizza as a vegetable. To hold your head backwards when you are having a nosebleed. Tilt it forwards, my friends, and hold just above the bridge of your nose. Lemmings do not commit mass suicides. In 1958, a Disney nature documentary called White Wilderness included scenes of lemmings leaping off cliffs and falling to their doom. These scenes were actually faked, and the film crew flung the rodents off the rocks using a turntable. Well, I live in Korea, but literally every Korean I have ever had this conversation with believes that fans can kill people under the right circumstances. It's not a once or twice thing. It has been probably 30 out of 30 people, with one girl admitting that she wasn't 100% sure. It blows my mind. I asked one of my Korean hallmates who is from Seoul, and he said that there are scientific studies that show that fans can kill people. He is studying science too. But not learning it, apparently. A steep learning curve means that the subject is easy to learn, not hard. Diamonds can in fact be shattered with a hammer. There is a difference between how strong something is and how hard it is. I'm a gemologist and that is correct. You just need to change strong to tough. Diamonds are one of the hardest minerals, certainly the hardest gemstone, but their toughness is only middle of the road. The toughest gemstone is nephrite jade, and that toughness is part of what makes it such a good carving material. Frankenstein is the name of the scientist, not the monster. Frankenstein is the monster. The creature is the creature. Belly dance was not a dance of seduction, and wasn't done by harem girls for the Sultan. It's a community folk dance with a rich and long history done by both men and women during family celebrations and gatherings. The two-piece costume was invented by early Hollywood and adopted by Egyptian dancers in nightclubs to cater to Western tourists. The term belly dance was invented at the 1893 World's Fair by Sol Bloom because it sounded salacious, would attract scandalized Victorian patrons, and sell a boatload of tickets. A car is safe during a lightning storm because the metal frame will conduct the electricity around you. The tires have nothing to do with it. Can you safely exit the car after it has been struck, or does it need to be discharged or something? Electrical engineer here. You can safely exit the car. Electricity doesn't hang out on objects. Hair does not grow back faster or thicker after it's been shaved. Seems like 90% of people believe this is true, though. This is more of a potato/potato thing, and is more to do with understanding what shaving does. In actuality, shaving shaves the small tapered ends from the hair, meaning that hairs that were previously unobservable from a reasonable distance grow outwards with the thicker/darker part of the hair at the end, giving the illusion of thicker hair, although realistically it does make the hair on your face thicker, because the thick part isn't stuck invisible in your skin. That daddy long legs are the most poisonous spiders in the world, just have fangs too small to do any damage. False. Human blood is never blue, it's always red. I remember a lot of people in elementary school saying that everyone's blood was blue until it came into contact with oxygen. That's why your veins look blue through your skin and blood looks red when you bleed. Don't go into the pool for at least an hour after you eat. You will get a cramp. This is just used to prevent kids from vomiting in the pool. So, it still sounds like a pretty useful rule. You actually can rip off the tags from your pillows and mattress. The law only applies to seller stockers of said items, intended to demonstrate to the consumer exactly what is inside for health and safety reasons. I can't believe the number of people who actually think they are not allowed to rip those tags off. It specifically says on the tag that they are not to be removed, except by the consumer. They are only there to provide washing and care instructions. If you rip them off, legally you have to immediately eat the entire mattress or face jail time. When deciding on the fate of a gladiator, the emperor did not give thumbs up or down. The audience did this to show what they thought, and the emperor gave out the verdict with an open or closed fist. Many people adjust the side mirrors on their cars so that they can see the side of their car in the mirror. This makes the side mirrors redundant to the rear view inside mirror, in that all the mirrors look in the same area behind you and creates a large blind spot on either side. If you adjust the side mirrors so that you can just see the side of your car and then adjust them outward quite a way, then you can cover the blind spots. If done right, for example, as a car in the lane next to you passes you from behind, you can see that car first in your rear view mirror, then as it leaves your rear view mirror it becomes visible in your side mirror, and as it leaves your side mirror it becomes visible out your side window, all without any gap and without moving your head. Agnosticism has basically nothing to do with whether there is a god or not. Agnosticism is a discussion of whether various mystical/metaphysical claims can actually be proven. It's a question of absolute truth and acceptance of doubt and uncertainty. I know that cracking your knuckles does nothing detrimental to the joint, but everyone tell me I'm going to get arthritis. I've been conducting an experiment for 13 years, since 1998, where I don't crack my ring fingers, but I crack all the other knuckles. There's no noticeable difference in the size in any of my knuckles, ring vs any other. I was concerned that my rings wouldn't fit on my ring fingers anymore if I kept cracking my knuckles, but so far, there hasn't been any difference. It is not impossible to lick your elbow. Conversely, if you tilt your head back and pantomime shaking a salt shaker in your mouth, you will not taste salt. However, you will look like you giving an invisible Venus a blowjob. Tryptophan in turkey does not make you sleepy. If it wasn't for the annual tryptophan conversation the second Thanksgiving dinner is over, you might have to talk to your crazy uncle about politics. We know the tryptophan thing is wrong, just not as wrong as some relatives' political opinions. A history-related one. Catherine the Great did not die ducking a horse. Back then times were different and the sexism was crazy. One of the best ways to harm a female political rival was to slander her sexually, hence all of the various assertions of her basically being an nympho who was into bestiality. Most women in history were sexually slandered, including Marie Antoinette, Elizabeth, even Joan of Arc. It is very unlikely Catherine the Great was remotely interested in bestiality. Schizophrenia is not the same as multiple personality disorder. Robert Louis Stevenson got it totally wrong in his book, Drive Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and since then people just kept copying his false knowledge. There is no special connection between virginity and the hymen. A large percentage of women have hymens that will never rip, and another large percentage have hymens that rip for reasons unrelated to sex. A minority of women have their hymens break due to loss of virginity. The blood is from the vaginal walls contracting and ripping under unprecedented stress, which is why some girls don't bleed when they lose it. The fact that Pure does only kill 99% of the bacteria does not lead to stronger ethanol-resistant bacteria. Growing a resistance towards ethanol as a bacterium is as likely as a baby being born resistant to high molar acids. You're confusing antibiotics with sanitizer to completely different working mechanics. At a hanging, the past tense is hanged and not hung. I see this one all the time. Bears do not hibernate. They may sleep for longer durations per day in the winter, but they never hibernate. That is what small animals, like mice, do. To clarify, some bears spend months during winter where they live in a den, sleep and rest for the vast majority of the time. Colloquially, this is close to what many people refer to as hibernation. As their body temp does not drop drastically, some biologists do not refer to this as true hibernation. It seems they don't even wake to eat, nor, as you may have heard, shut in the woods. The North Star is not the brightest in the sky and is not a part of the Big Dipper. Thunder doesn't only happen when it's raining. Damn you, Fleetwood Mac. Lightning does strike the same place more than once. The Empire State Building's spire is hit 500 times a year. Eggs you buy in a grocery store are not fertilized. Can't tell you how many of my friends think a baby chicken was growing in there. Grocery store eggs are chicken periods, not chicken abortions. Macs can get viruses. Seriously, I told this to so many people on a regular basis when working at a computer repair place, and they thought I was lying to them. Most nuts aren't nuts. Almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, macadamias, peanuts, pecans, pine nuts, pistachios, and walnuts are all technically not really nuts. Peanuts are a legume, a bean. Pistachios are drupes, a fruit. You eat the seed. This whole thing confuses me even more about nut allergies. You cannot get a cold from going outside with wet hair, or from not wearing a coat, or from being cold. Also, the flu shot doesn't give you the flu. If you cut an earthworm in half, the half without the brain dies. Or, if you cut it lengthwise, so as to split up the brain, both halves die.